Within days, the Obama administration is set to end the arrangement under which the U.S. government oversees the organization that assigns and coordinates the Internet addresses that we all use every day. But 4 state attorneys general have filed lawsuits. They say the transition would violate the U.S. Constitution and, more importantly, perhaps make the Internet a much more dangerous place. To help us understand what this all means is cybersecurity expert and senior fellow at the Center for Digital Government, Morgan Wright. Welcome, Mr. Wright. Nice to see you,
Thank you, Brett. Thank you, sir.
Tell me, first of all, the organization that we're talking about that assigns these addresses and coordinates everything is called ICANN, I-C-A-N-N. What does that stand for?
Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers. That's just a fancy way of saying Fox News actually translates to an IP address, a set of numbers, and they make sure when you type in foxnews.com that you go to foxnews.com. Right,
and not someplace else, right?
Yeah, and not CNN or anything like that, right?
No, we wouldn't want that. But yeah. All right, so this is they're doing so under contract, this organization, with the U.S. Commerce Department. That's been going on for years, right?
Yes, since about 1998.
Any problems?
Untold, I mean, ask Mark Zuckerberg, ask, the guys at Twitter and stuff. Untold wealth, great job creation. We've got an economy that works. We've got a lot of capability. It's, kind of thing, if it's not broke, why are we fixing it?
Well, now, when this transfers, it'll transfer to some other body, right? The supervision that we now have, or at least the oversight that we have as a government, will transfer to some international body. What is that?
Well, it'll still be ICANN, but what they're going to do then is open up, and they'll be think of it a UN for the Internet. That's basically what it's going to be. They already have about 111 member countries. A lot of those already being UN member nations, and so they're looking
U.S. being one of those countries.
U.S. being one of those countries, but it gets back. The real question is, with that many people, we've seen how effectively the UN works. Will this be effective in terms of how it manages going into the future? Will we be able to protect our interests? More importantly, our .gov, our .mil addresses, and our space in cyberspace. That's one of the 5 domains now: sea, air, land, space. Cyberspace is where we'll fight the next.
But other countries will not have any more access to these addresses in order to do any mischief than we have, right?
That's unknown. I mean, that's what's one of the great unknowns about this, is because the coordination of this right now. Anytime you assign new addresses, you give out these new numbers. Eventually, it has to be signed off by the NTIA, by the Department of Commerce.
What's the NTIA?
National Telecommunications Industry Association. I think it's part of the Department of Commerce as well. So,
so that's our government has to.
That's our government. They say, it's fine, you can sign these things up, and when they do, then they create these new addresses, and then there's what's called a top-level domain server, and so when that happens, they create a record. It's the record of authority. It is what it is. It is absolute. It's the ground truth, and that's why we can trust that when we type in a domain name, a name of something, it translates correctly and takes us to the place. But more importantly, too,
takes us to the place we want to go.
But more importantly, for law enforcement, for national security, it means that we also have trust in those records, that when we do investigations, when we're trying to prevent things from happening, that we have trust that those numbers and names are accurate as well.
Now, there was a measure to stop this from happening.
Right.
And that failed in Congress?
Yeah. It was attached to a spending bill. It got cut out of the spending bill, so we're now 24 hours.
So we're down to the Attorney General in their lawsuit.
Right. Yeah.
Where does that stand?
As far as I know, it's under consideration. I was trying to get an update right before we came on air, but, quite frankly, one of those arguments has already been dealt with. It is they've already determined that it is not U.S. government property, so that claim, I think, is going to be weak. The question is, from a national security standpoint, have we done enough to protect ourselves before we transfer ownership of this away from the U.S. government?
And I take it that once it's gone, it's gone.
There is no putting the toothpaste back in the tube on this one. When it's out the door come October 1st, it is a brave new world, and we have no idea. We kind of have an idea, but we don't really know where it's going to go.
Morgan Wright, thank you, sir. Nice to meet you.